Thorny, as we venture into the R&R, two truths are consistent. We love our dear Montana state, and we love great beer. And you know who else feels the same? Jeremiah Johnson Brewing. Brewed in the heart of Montana in downtown Great Falls, Jeremiah Johnson takes Montana's finest ingredients to craft some of Montana's favorite beers. And now, Jeremiah Johnson's second tap room is open in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Their Citra IPA is probably one of my favorites. But we all know, Thorny, you're not the hop lover I am. You're more of a mountain man Scotch ale.
Well, Foley, I'm certainly not a mountain man, but you are right. I do love their Mountain Man Scotch Ale. But come game day, you and I are both cracking their Golden Bobcat Pale Ale. So when you're looking for a quality craft beer brewed with Montana roots, a relaxing tap room, or just a six-pack to take to your favorite Bobcat tailgate, Jeremiah Johnson delivers. Make your next beer a Jeremiah Johnson, and as always, go Cats.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy it.
Welcome back, Bobcat fans, to another episode of the R&R Catcast. This is Thorny here, driving it solo here because all I'm doing is introducing tonight's episode, which, of course, is brought to you by Jeremiah Johnson Brewing, our awesome sponsor making dank beer in Great Falls, Montana. Tonight, we got on Zoom with some of the other members of the Big Sky Podcast Network. We got Brint Wahlberg and Mike Nugent from the GrizFanPod, and we also had Hot Take Nate and Montana Parlay from the Montana Mint side of things. And, of course, Ryan and I hopped on there. And basically, we just all rambled about whatever we felt like talking about for Cat Griz. And we'll call it just a little bit of a roundtable discussion. It was a lot of fun. I think you guys will enjoy it for some extra content here leading into the big game on Saturday. So let's get into it. Here is our roundtable Cat Griz discussion.
All right, welcome in, guys. We have a special Cat Griz Week edition of, I guess, the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm Mike Nugent from the GrizFanPod, joined by Brint Wahlberg. We have Cold Take Nate, everybody's favorite incorrect prognosticator from the Montana Mint. We have Montana Parlay, and we have the Ryans, Thorny and Foley from the R&R Capcast. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Hey there, boys.
All right. This was actually harder to find a time and get together to do than you would think it would be on this week. And we don't even have all of our people. We're missing Bear Tycoon and Luke. Really, you guys probably aren't missing them, but Brint and I feel outnumbered.
Yeah, outnumbered here. Griz fans are outnumbered, but it's okay. We like being the underdogs for once. And, you know, just like on Saturday, we'll prevail in the end here. So we're good. We're good.
All right. So we just kind of want to have a little roundtable, talk about the game, talk about the rivalry, kind of what it means and all that. And we're going to get into kind of what we think of each other here in a minute. But I was thinking, actually, I'm going off script already. Might be fun to start with maybe somebody from each team just talking about where we think our team is right now. What, coming into this game, where are the Cats, where are the Griz? Brint, I'm going to put you on the spot for us. The four of you can raise hands or whatever, but we'll let you go second since, the reigning winner should let the runner-up go first right now.
Yeah, those four can draw straws. So, yeah. I think a lot of people that's what's fascinating about this game coming up. Montana's defense is just lights out right now. They're playing as incredible as could be. They have obviously, admittedly, put it together over a stretch of games against lower tier teams in the conference, but they have not allowed a touchdown. What was it, Mike, that Riley told us? It was like so many consecutive quarters 10 quarters and something like that. So the Grizzly defense has kind of found its stride again, where it kind of lost a little bit in October. But that's not the problem with Montana. Our problem is offense and productivity on offense, red zone production, especially getting in the end zone, and then injuries. We're on like our fifth or sixth string running back at this point. We're getting a few guys back healthy. We've had our starting quarterback out for a while. We've lost a couple of linemen here and there, and we've lost, I think, 3 or 4 wide receivers as well too. Continue to win through it, but it's kind of one of these things where this was a year, I think a lot of Griz fans, a lot of Griz coaches were hoping to see a Griz offense, even without Dalton Sneed, who's a pretty dynamic playmaker, but an offense that had all the tools around senior Cam Humphrey, continue what they were doing before or take that next step. But then with injuries and just general ineffectiveness and honestly some poor offensive line play, it's kind of gone the other way. And so, going into this game, I think a lot of Griz fans, we trust our defense. We just don't know what we're going to see out of this offense, because even in these better games they've played in this month of November, inconsistency still reigns supreme. So a lot of 3 and outs, a lot of stalled drives, and just a lot of issues there. So that's the Montana Grizzlies. That's what we know, what we see. And it's just going to be interesting to see where this goes with this team, because a typical Bobby Houck team, he likes to have playing better football as you get further down in the season. And halfway through the point of the season, it really wasn't feeling like that. It's feeling a little bit more like that in November. But again, it's wins against Northern Colorado and Northern Arizona. So this is going to be the big test this weekend, because Bobcats are the real deal. And we're going to see if Griz can hang, or if they're just, going to fall back apart like they have in some of their other tougher games. So that's the Griz.
My God, man, there was like a natural ending there. And then you blew right past.
That's how you guys get to 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's how you did it.
That's how you do it.
You just keep talking and talking.
All right. Cat friends, who's summarizing Cat season for us?
But I want to make one comment on Brent. It's easy to find your defensive stride when you go against Idaho, Southern Utah, Northern Colorado, and NAU. It's like saying the Cats found an amazing offensive stride when they played Drake, Cal Poly, San Diego. So, they just got to find their stride later in the season, where the Cats, got some confidence earlier in the season. So I just want to make that one comment, that they have found their defensive stride. But let's put it in some context of who they were playing to.
That's fair.
Oh boy, I'll touch that later. Who's going?
I'll let anybody else. That was my Griz opinion. I'll let the Cats fans go and now talk about the Cats.
Well,
Parlay just volunteered himself. Here we go.
This is good. This is really good stuff.
It's tough. We're winning games. That's all I can. That's it. We're winning games. I went to the Wyoming game. Kind of what I saw there on offense has stayed true throughout the season, outside of those non-scholarship wins when, anyone can look good offensively. But it's just, this team is great. Vegan has got some great game plans. I don't know if a couple of our past coaches come out and win these Eastern games, the Weber game, heck, even the Idaho game,
You sound like a guy talking about a team that's like, not a team that's fighting for a top 2 seed in the playoffs.
I know, but
that Eastern win, both of our programs
they look so good
to win at Eastern for a long time. That's a big deal.
I think it's just that, it's that whole last few years where, we are the best team in the Big Sky. I'll say it. We are the best team. We're well-rounded. Offense looks sluggish. And I know it takes more I'm feeling like a Griz fan now. Yeah, I want to win the Cat Griz game, but I want more, and I know it's going to take more to beat the top echelon of teams. We got to score. And to make me comfortable on Saturday, we got to score. I know I'm going to be a nervous wreck all day. Maybe 2019 can repeat itself, but the Griz D is stronger. We've got some injuries on the offensive line. I would like to see us move the damn ball more, pass it better. I think Fonse will be all right. I think we'll run the ball, but it's just, I wish we could pass the damn ball against good teams. We have that. I feel a lot better going into this weekend and then into some of the tougher playoff games that are coming down the road.
You're right. Parlay sometimes he likes to call himself the Bobcat realist, but a lot of times it's kind of the Bobcat pessimist.
I was going to say,
he goes a little bit Debbie Downer on us, where I get called a homer and I get called too optimistic, but we got to get some energy back up in there, Parlay.
We need Thorny or Foley to come in and maybe give a little bit of positivity to this before we move on.
Sprinkle a bit of sugar on this, guys. Come on.
You don't want to hear what I was about to say then.
Oh, geez.
My biggest fear is that this is just my the scars of Rob Ash haunting me right now is that we're playing our worst football late in the year. And I just don't want to see us crash into the playoffs like we have under Rob Ash. That's my biggest fear. I don't think it's going to happen, but that was what I was going to chime in. Foley, you got anything positive here? Help us out.
Yeah, I don't think we're playing our worst football of the season. I just think we've been playing good teams lately. So I think the Cat fans are our biggest critics. I look around and listen to the Cat fans. We're 9-1 going into the Cat Griz. I mean, come on now. So I'm happy for the Cats. I wish we'd, like Parlay was saying, maybe be a little more, efficient in the pass game. We don't attack the middle of the field. That's something that Matt McKay is like known for. He's just going to pass up the sideline. And I think with the Griz defense, when you guys blitz so heavy, that Sac State really showed that the middle of the field is kind of a soft spot. Montana State doesn't attack the middle of the field. So I'm really kind of interested on what we're going to do offensively on Saturday. So yeah, it's a big concern, but 9-1 going into the Cat game. I had us penciled in at 8-3, and for this year, Thorny had 9-2. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to feel bad about where you guys are at.
Yeah, I think, we say Thorny said maybe not their best football, but I mean, look at what they did in the Idaho game. Yeah, it was 20-13. The offense didn't get going, but they only allowed one touchdown to Idaho.
Yeah.
It was they only scored 13. Borish came in. I don't think they were game planning for a guy that was just going to run around. He was pretty elusive. He was actually really fun to watch. Couldn't throw the ball.
His throwing mechanics
somehow did. His mechanics were horrible.
He wasn't elusive.
Like a sidearmed looking shot.
He wasn't elusive against us guys at home.
Touche.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if we're going to look at that, we're going to compare this stuff. Of course,
no, let's not. Let's stop right there.
No, but I think it's not worth. But it's they got Eastern 23-20. That's a win that we haven't seen as Cat fans forever. I mean, obviously it was a decade since we last beat Eastern. We didn't get those wins with Choate, and we hadn't for a while with Ash. And so we get that win. Like, I think all of us wanted to see them come out and just absolutely demolish Idaho as we got ready for the brawl. So there was a little bit of disappointment that came with it. But I guess if you kind of reflect on it the Wednesday after and you kind of put it into context of what happened, the defense is still playing lights out. Thorny, tweeted something out today, Trey Anderson running down the fastest running back in the league on an amazing play at the sideline. Like, this defense is amazing. Yeah. Trey Anderson's playing amazing ball. It's a fun team to watch. I think there's a nervousness of Cat Griz, so you don't want to get your hopes up because you'll just get absolutely crushed like Mike did last year when we were in Bozeman. And that was sad. I was actually sad for him a little bit.
You weren't. Stop it.
I was not. But I think you're right.
Your tweets suggest otherwise.
I think the biggest thing was we wanted to see that demolishing of the Vandals. It didn't happen, so it makes you think a little bit about, were we too high? What are we doing here? But you look at it, they only allowed one touchdown, and like anything can happen in Cat Griz. But I'm a little bit more optimistic, I think, than Parlay.
Foley, any thoughts from you on the Cat season before we jump to the next thing?
So I was going to talk about Parlay. Parlay talked about Wyoming. I thought our offense would look pretty good in Wyoming, and then I thought we hit our stride through October and September. September. When we hit Weber State, I just have a little bit of concern on Matt McKay. I think we should talk about Matt McKay here, sometime. Is he going to be the guy that's he's kind of a linchpin for us, right? Like, can he? Thorny asked this on one of our episodes recently. Can Matt McKay win a national championship? Just beyond Cat Griz, he's kind of flaky in big games so far. I'm not sure. So, our defense, I think collectively, right, we're all looking at our defense as going, holy cow, that's the thing holding it together. We have Afonso. When you have Isaiah Afonso and you got something late in the season. So I'm hoping he's healthy. I don't think Elijah Elliott's going to be as dynamic. I think he's got a bum ankle, and you just don't come back from a bum ankle early on. So I don't know. We're probably going to hand off the ball to Afonso 30 times in the Cat Griz, and
that's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it works,
if we had the best running back in the conference, that's what we would do.
But I think the Griz defense is number one against the run right now in the Big Sky. So it's like our strength versus your strength.
Pretty sure the Griz were number one 2019 too.
See, Thorny just can't not take digs. Wow. We're having a great conversation here, and
all right.
Backs matter.
But Afonso had 21 carries in 2019. 21 carries, and they also had, they were only running the ball.
Yeah.
I think it was Perovic. He had 7 completions. I mean, it was Afonso, Logan Jones. They were absolutely, just murdering the Griz in that run game. So you have to think it's going to be the same thing this year. McKay we think maybe is a step up over Rovig. At times this season, I wish we would have just seen Rovig back in there.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I called for Rovig early. I think it was the Weber game. I called for Rovig to be back in there, and now I'm just fully all in on Malott. So, but yeah, you're right. It's going to be 30 carries. It was 40 carries between Afonso and Jones in 2019. It's going to be the exact same thing. We just don't know who. There's a big drop off between Elliott and you get down to. Was it Perry?
Wait a second. You mean to tell me that there's a big drop-off between your first running back and your second running back and your third running back and your fourth running back and your fifth?
There wasn't last year. Interesting.
Interesting.
Last year there wasn't that drop-off for the Cats. But this year there might be.
Any naive Cat fans out there who just, don't pay attention to the Griz at all, top running back scored 20-plus touchdowns in 2019. Tore his ACL in the spring, has been gone all year. That's Knight. Second running back, Osmo, has 1 carry for 9 yards all year. He broke his ankle in camp, came back in 1 game and got hurt. Third string running back and fourth string running back both kept getting injured. The leading rusher on the team is actually a true freshman from Billings West who was committed to the Cats, but decommitted when the coaching change happened. And thank God, because I don't know what the Griz would have done. He's supposed to be a wide receiver. So, I think that's one of the interesting things about the Griz is just, our offense is brutal. And I think it's kind of funny because, if you took the conversation you just had about the Cats and the conversation Brint just put out about the Griz and you remove the names, we have a lot of the same concerns about our teams.
Yeah.
They don't push the ball down the field like we'd like. Obviously, the one kind of glaring difference is Afonso is just a dependable beast. For the Cats.
It's like we both turned into Weber State.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And I'd be a whole hell of a lot more nervous going into this game with our offense if it weren't for the game I watched the Griz play last week where they took the ball inside the 10 against NAU. NAU's defense is atrocious, and they came away with 3 points. 2 drives inside the 10, they get 3 points. So that calms me down a bit. If NAU's off defense can hold the Griz to, 2 offensive touchdowns? 1 offensive touchdown.
1 offensive touchdown.
Then I'm just hoping that, a Lane McKay out pass or slant doesn't get taken to the house more than once.
That's my nightmare.
Yeah, because the Griz will be lucky to score an offensive drive where the offense actually has to drive the field against the Bobcat defense. So if you can't tell already, I like the under.
Well, wasn't the line 44 and a half?
44 and a half, yeah.
Crazy person's making that.
Bear Tycoon and I on the pod last night talked about, will there be a defensive touchdown for the Griz? And you have, I'm so scared of McKay throwing some sort of out. His arm he can't throw outs, and it's going to be a pick 6. I can just feel it. I saw a couple of those throws against Idaho were just unbelievably bad. And that's I just pictured it in my head, and it's going to give me nightmares on Friday night thinking about a pick 6 changing the aspect of the game. That does scare me for sure.
Yeah, Parlay mentions the NAU game, and it's season long. The Griz have moved the ball fairly well until they get in the red zone, and they just can't. And part of the problem's been when you're using a true freshman converted wide receiver as your running back, you just don't have that power back. And even with them getting kind of our third string and fourth string guys back last week, it's just not the same. And I think that Griz fans have been frustrated with the offense. I've been one of them, but I do think that's kind of the reality of the season is. You need a good running back to make a good offense work, or you need somebody who can be dynamic.
Especially, how much of it do you blame on Bobby, or is it just the offense's ability? Because I've watched most of the Griz games, they're inside the 10. They'll run it on first. They'll run it on second. They might even run it on third down. And it's you got Sammy out there. You got other offensive weapons do something else. Spread it out. Even if you're going to run it, spread it out and run it.
It is
know,
inexplicable.
it's like-
Parlay. Like it is inexplicable.
Like, am I watching Skyview Falcons from 1996? Like what the hell?
There's no creativity, and it's so weird because, like, when Snead was running the offense, like when he was hurt, they like came up with this whole new like fake pitch handoff thing. I mean, the offensive staff used to be creative, but it's like
I hope they do
like
it Saturday.
Thing. I don't know. Well, I do too, but it's definitely been interesting.
It's good to see Mike's checked or Venmo to Parlay cleared bitching about the Griz offense. So,
Tony, what were you about to say?
I don't need to be paid.
I feel the same way about the Cats. I mean, the last several years under Jeff Choate, like, we couldn't pass very well, but we figured it out. We were very dynamic in our run game. I feel like this year our passing maybe is better. That's debatable, but we're definitely less creative. We're less dynamic. We're just It's either hand the ball off to an RPO to Afonso, which McKay keeps like 20% of the time or less, and he makes a wrong read, or he just bombs it to McCutcheon. Those are pretty much.
He's the anti Travis Johnson.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Travis kept it 100% of the time.
100% of the time.
He hands it off 100% of the time.
I don't know.
That was Gerald Kent
out
for us.
It worked out in the Cat Griz game in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, it was more dynamic. It's like the most dynamic looking single quarterback offense you'll ever see.
Yeah,
at least it was creative in how they went about it. Like,
Cassis, that opening touchdown last year was Cassis on that end. It was fun to watch. You're right.
And it's like
stale.
This offense, and Bobby Houck used to love like double passes, and I mean, we barely even run. I mean, we used to run Flowers and Sulcer, and Sulcer obviously got hurt, on end arounds, and the creativity is just not there. And I think part of that's just youth. Our O-line's been a little bit beat up, and I don't know. I do think kind of reacting a little bit to kind of a couple shots that Nathan took. I think that you go ahead and underestimate the Griz defense all you want. I mean, I won't necessarily disagree that the Cats probably have a better defense, but there's a lot of talent there. And I don't think that after, whatever point we are in the season, the stats are what they are. And it's like, you combine everybody you've played and kind of put it out there. And I think our teams are who they are on offense and they are who they are on defense. And I think the Griz do have a very good defense. So it's going to be interesting to see, we could be in for one of those like 9-6 games, which would be crazy.
I'm already getting nauseous thinking about a fourth quarter and being a 3-point game. Like, I'm already actually want to throw it up right now.
And there's going to have to be breakaway touchdowns or defensive touchdowns, because I think it was Michael Lombardi on one of the Simmons pods used to call it the 20-20 offense, where a lot of yards between the 20s. Both teams put up yards. They just don't score. Once it does get tougher in the red zone, obviously things tighten up, but it's the play calling too, both sides. The Cats had they left so many points on the board against Eastern. It was ridiculous. Like, that game was so much more nerve wracking than it had to be. And like I said, I saw the same thing with you guys in a couple of other games. And it's just like, what's going on here? You're not going to run a halfback dive up the middle 2-3 plays in a row. Oh, by the way, let's try a half-assed, post route, corner route, on third down when everyone expects it. So if they don't score on a long play or a defensive return or something, we could just see a lot of field goals.
It's an interesting thing because, I mean, you look at some of the factors with this, and it's like, granted, the Griz special teams, like, no one kicks to Malik Flowers anymore. He hasn't returned a kickoff, I think, since October, mid or early October. But it's like, you talk about that, like a defensive touchdown or a special teams or some big breakaway play. While the Cats have a slightly better turnover margin because they've played a lot more mistake-free football than the Griz. Like, we've got 4 or 5 defensive touchdowns, and we've got an excellent special teams return unit when they get the ball. And so, you talk about that parlay, it could be something where that could be an advantage that, maybe the Griz, especially you look at their offensive inefficiencies, and Afonso, in my opinion, is the Big Sky MVP. So the best guy in the conference is on the other side of the ball, but those intangibles where can Justin Ford get his 9th interception in 9 games in a row and take it to the house? Can Flowers get the ball in his hand.
Thorny
On
is
a
shaking
kickoff.
his head, but I mean, I would have told you he could get his 6th in a row or his 7th in a row.
I'm just nervous about
I
it.
mean,
I'm shaking my head because I'm nervous about it.
Yeah.
It's
So, I mean,
crazy.
it's like that thing. It's like, okay, so, Cats score a touchdown, kick field goal, and Griz kick 2 field goals, and suddenly, late fourth, Malik Flowers gets kickoff in his hands and he's gone. I mean, that actually kept us in the damn game in Eastern Washington when it was looking pretty bleak. And then Flowers goes, what was it? 101 yards? He took it out of the end zone.
I actually thought that he should have been the special teams player of the week, even though they lost.
But they don't award, you don't get awards if they lose the game.
Yeah.
So,
but he put that game back in reach for the Griz, and they were, a Chris Brown backup QB pass being 6 inches lower for winning that game.
Yeah.
So.
I think the special teams for Montana State. I mean, Montana has the advantage in that, obviously, in that special teams. Willie Patterson scares me. I miss Coy Steele like crazy. I'm his number 1 fan. I wish he was still back there.
Where's he from, Nate? He's in Montana.
Sheridan.
Oh, Sheridan. Okay, yeah. All right.
I bet you didn't know that.
You've said it on you said it on your pod like a
million times. But yeah, Willie Patterson back there does not give me a lot of confidence in our return game, and it does scare me every time a punt is kicked to us. And so I think we have something that's a big advantage for the Griz right there. Kicking, I think we said on our pod last night, both teams about the same percentage. They both missed 4 field goals this year. So we have some pretty solid kickers. If it's going to line up to be a field goal kicking contest, that should be pretty interesting. But
don't buy Brint's hype. You've got a better kicker, even though our guy's coming on strong.
Mike, I said I think the Cats have the best kicker in the conference. So calm down, even though we've got Money Macias. We've got Money Macias. They've got a better kicker.
So we have Blake Glessner, and I met his parents at a function here in Spokane we had right before the Eastern game, and I looked his dad in the eye, said, "Hey, I heard your last name's Glessner. Is your son Blake?" And he's like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, I call him Stones Glessner on the pod." And he looked at me like this. He's like, "What?" And his mom just started giggling, and I was like, "Yeah, he's got the stones. He's money all the time down the middle." And then
it's a good way to lead off an introduction.
And then I think he misses the chip shot at Eastern, his next one that he takes.
Yeah, he did. He missed like a 27-yard field goal. He doesn't get much closer.
Yeah. So
Interestingly enough, I met Coy Steele's mom in Sheridan over the summer as well, but I did not tell her son's nickname was Stones.
Stone Steele? That's like a whole different connotation to it, for sure.
Exactly.
Hey, I got to ask you guys a question. Go all the way back to Parlay. He was talking about toss it up to Kim. What's going on with Sammy and Kim? Because when I watch him, he kind of just looks kind of like him. So talk to me about Kim.
Don't let Mike talk. No, I'm kidding.
Brint and I have different takes on this because I am a very good evaluator of the Griz, and Brint is sugar.
Mike picked Northern Colorado. Mike picked Northern Colorado to beat the Griz.
We all saw the soundbite.
The Griz had just only beaten Southern Utah by 1 point at home.
Oh, we remember.
Somebody needed to light a fire, and you're welcome, Brint. I told you, don't need any more of this shit.
All right.
Sammy and Cam, and some people might say it's because, Cam Humphrey got hurt and Brown started 4 games and It was great to see Sammy come out 2 weeks ago and score some touchdowns and kind of come out of his shell. I think he's been one of the more disappointing players on our team, and I'm sure that he's going to hear this and tweet it out or do whatever. But we had both our QBs have struggled. Our offense has struggled, and he was on the Walter Payton Award watch list to start the season. He is 1 touchdown away from tying our all-time touchdown receiving record list. Is it 1 or 2? 2 to break, 1 to tie, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And it just doesn't feel like he is fighting for the ball when it comes to him. And Foley, you said it. And it's like, I mean, I'm not paying you to go watch Griz games and, say what I think. So Brent's like, oh, great. The ball gets up to him and it's like he doesn't fight for it. And it's the weirdest damn thing because he used to do it. So I don't know. And Brent can give you a better answer, but it's frustrating.
No, I mean, honestly, as much as I tease Mike and we've joked about it on the pod, I think Sammy Kemp misses Samori Toure incredibly. I know Toure, laid an egg in that 2019 game, kind of set the whole game off by fumbling it on like the 3rd play. But the 2 of them on the same field at the same time, basically did not allow a defense to really focus on one guy. And especially with Toure, who's now on the Blitnikoff list at Nebraska, of all places, and getting draft buzz, who lit up Ohio State 2 weeks ago. So I think for Sammy, it's there's been a lot of frustrating drops that we had not seen in prior years. And I think, Ben Roberts is a great second receiver, but I just don't think he commands the respect that the two, when you had Samori and Akem on the field at the same time, and the type of defensive game plan and scheming. And so it seems like I think he presumably had a much better connection with Dalton Snead than he has with both Cam Humphrey and Chris Brown and Robbie Patterson, I guess, to some little extent, but it was just like, it just hasn't really clicked. And so there's been games where it's been great, but there's been a lot of games where it's been a mixed bag. He drops an easy pass. Northern Colorado, he dropped a couple of super easy passes, and then he hauled in 2 real tough ones. So real kind of up down year. And it could be one of those things like Mike was saying, going into the season, being told you're the best receiver in the Big Sky, getting on all the award lists, all the watch lists, and then you see this offense completely sputter out into a very mediocre offense, and it kind of takes a confidence hit, a little bit of a mental challenge, and it results in the up-down play that we've seen. It's been confusing, but yeah.
I will add to that, Brint, that I do think early in the season, the offensive play calling didn't do him any favors, because it felt like they weren't doing anything to get him the ball. And you almost wonder if that didn't compound into this bigger kind of thing, where it's just body language and all that. It's one of the stranger things of our season, because, we had a freshman QB starting games who's got a great arm. But he's got to have the confidence that if he chucks it up to the best wide receiver on the team, he's going to go fight for it. And I don't know that they ever developed that. So
I want to flip it to you guys. Why the hell wasn't Lance McCutcheon doing more until this year? All of a sudden he's top in yards. And I know Limu Jones missed 2 games, but still the guy you sort it by stats, and he's the yardage leader in the Big Sky Conference. Why were they throwing this guy before? What happened?
0 catches in last year's Cat Griz game. 0. He wasn't on the box score.
Jeff Choate.
Nice graphic he held up.
I counter with it being Kevin Cassis, because that was the only guy Tucker really got any confidence to throw it to. He would just throw it up, and he had that chemistry with Cassis. That's that's the only thing I can think of, is that McKay has all that same confidence in McCutcheon that Rovig had in the security blanket of Cassis. Cassis not being there anymore, McCutcheon was the guy to step up. I mean, that's my simple take on it. Is I don't know, because McCutcheon's a beast.
Well, my simple take is, at the time, he's put in a lot of work in the last 2 years in the offseason with the year off, but he just was not better than Travis Johnson or Kevin Cassis in 2019.
It's been a while since 2019. A lot can change,
He's put in a lot of work. He looks way bigger.
And I think that to Foley's point, I mean, opportunity is a big part of that too. I mean, if he had, those 2 guys ahead of him on the depth chart, or really in the kind of QB confidence level, there weren't that many passes to go around in the Cat offense in 2019. Yeah. So
no. Castis somehow still ended up top 5 all-time receiving somehow for the
insane. Cats. We had some talent at receiver that we definitely wasted.
I know Nate and I talked about this once, the kind of what could have been on some of those guys. I don't know if Nate remembers it, but
we ruined Roberts. Roberts? Mitch Herbert. We ruined Mitch Herbert. And Jeff Choate ruined Mitch Herbert. He was tearing it up with Dakota Prukop, and he just turned into nothing his senior year.
Do you ever wonder
it's going to be a problem?
Because Dakota Prukop left, and that he would have been
with the coaching change
first year, right?
Yeah,
I've got this whole theory, this whole butterfly effect on what
would have happened.
Prukop left. Then we goes out and gets Tyler Brugman, and then I don't even talk about it.
Don't say his name. Please don't say his name again.
He added me as a friend on Facebook because he sells real estate in Arizona.
I'm sure he's a very nice man.
I don't know. I hit him. I wasn't really interested in being friends with a failed Cats QB, much less,
He ended up walking on at Texas A&M for senior year.
And when we lost Prukop, we also lost, was it Housewright? No, I'm sorry, not Housewright. Cramsey. who had dialed up some amazing offense for the Cats. I mean, he had Prukop, which is another world quarterback for FCS, but yes, that butterfly effect and crew to get rid of Cramsey because he wasn't going to come back if Prukop didn't come back, and he wanted to be head coach, and then they got Choate, so it was a whole mess when that whole thing happened.
Hey, Thorny, do you remember Jeff Choate's very first game we played in Idaho? Idaho was still FBS. Halftime comes. Brugman made some weird mistake. Maybe it was like a play calling mistake. Jeff Choate comes to the middle of the field, grabs Brugman by his face mask in the middle field, shakes his helmet, curses him out right there on the middle of the field, and then runs off into the locker rooms.
I don't remember that. I remember.
Oh my gosh! I was like,
Brugman looked
different.
Okay in that game
because we went from Rob Ash to that, and I was like, holy cow! Yeah, something's changed.
So, I mean, you guys have brought up the coaches a couple of times, so now it's kind of a chance to talk about a question that I actually posed in our Big Sky Podcast Network chat, and none of you ever answered it. But contrast the two coaches, because I kind of agree with Parlay. Like, I don't know that Choate wins both of the big games you guys won on the road.
No.
Maybe he progresses, but it's like it always felt like maybe that was the thing. I definitely think you'd feel more comfortable if you had Choate going into this game, but part of that's the unknown.
Yeah.
So maybe compare and contrast those.
Well, I think there's a lot of variables, and let's not forget that these are Choate's guys. So that it goes a long way. But just like my quick take, without going to camp or watching practice or any of that, is that Vigen is an overall better game planner. The guys are just ready game in and week out, more prepared for each and every game. Whereas Choate, he will get you from 0 to 100 for, the Cat Griz game. And he's an intensity guy. But Vigen, just as bad as our offense has looked, like, and as nasty as it feels to watch that Weber game, I just felt confident that whole Weber game that, we're going to win this. The Eastern game in the second half, it's like, we are just a better team. We're playing better. We're not making outside of that weird snap at midfield in the second half. Eastern didn't even come close to scoring against us. So it's just,
who didn't feel confident you were going to win the Weber game? Nate, and I have the text to prove it. But I'm glad that he's still on board.
Those are off the record, obviously. I guess I thought
off the record. I'm not going to tell you what they say.
I mean, I've done with 30. You can go. I just need to talk.
The only thing I want to say about it is Jeff Choate. The last time Jeff Choate played Weber State or Eastern Washington, Troy Anderson was quarterback. So I'm not sure it's fair evaluation to the 2019 team or even this team. If Jeff Choate was at the helm, could have been completely different. But yeah, he had to play with Troy Anderson at quarterback and didn't win either one of those games. But 2019 didn't play Eastern or.
But that was his choice, though, Thorny.
Exactly. That was his choice.
I'm just saying, like, if you're saying he's the coach right now.
Yeah,
he wins
fair.
those games.
But I would say, like, given what you guys have learned about McKay through the year, I think there's zero chance Choate would be trusting McKay very much at this point in the season.
Mm-mm.
Because the one thing about Vigen is he is going to, try and put McKay in the positions to be successful with the things he does well. And, he's the guy, so, you're going to push him or do whatever. But, I mean, Choate just, you were done. You were done with him.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, when you compare and contrast the two coaches, I think we all were scarred by the end of the Ash era, where we had the most vanilla, plain, didn't get the intensity coach.
Worst defense you've ever seen in your entire
We actually we enjoyed that.
You guys loved it, yeah. I mean, I can see how you.
Then we repaid it with the Stitt era, and we got
it back. So, you guys repaid it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. Like, I think I think we all think Vigen is the better coach in terms of game plan. You read all the articles about the players. He's more business-like, where he's going to be down to the details, where Choate was the intensity fire guy. You're right when you said I would be more comfortable probably going into this game with a guy like Choate, who, I mean, we don't know anything about Vigen and what he thinks about the rivalry. I think there was an article today that Coulter Poole did about Vigen and rivalries, but we knew what Choate brought to it. And he brought intensity. He knew how much his game meant to everybody in Montana. This is Vigen's first. He's no stranger to big games. Obviously, he was at North Dakota State. They have rivals. They played in the biggest games that you can play in the FCS. So he gets big games. But it is in the back of your mind that you felt comfortable with Choate because he was that huge energy guy that got everybody up. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of team comes out with Vigen and just in their differences and just emotion, I guess.
Did you guys know that Vigen was on the D2 North Dakota State team that came into Missoula and won 2000?
I wondered if he was.
I did not know that. I did not know
I read that in an article today. I actually did not know that. I was like, I didn't know he was a running backs coach, I think.
Yeah, that was like Bull's first year or second year. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He's no stranger to Griz, apparently.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, that's harking the way back. So I will say, we kind of talked about this on the pod a little bit. One of our listener questions on the GrizFanPod was, something along the lines of, do you think it's a good thing that the opposing fan base hates our coach? Of course, Bobby Houck. But the last 2 years with Houck back and Choate being, in years 3 and 4, was the first time in maybe my lifetime where I feel like both schools had a coach that the other fan base detested or didn't like or had strong feelings about. Usually it's kind of one or the other. And it's
not Kramer. Like Kramer broke the streak and he kind of had a little bit of an attitude too.
But Kramer loved Montana, at least outwardly.
Yeah.
He obviously did some great things and did end the streak, and I think that's huge. But he was never like, Houck clearly hates MSU. Choate clearly instilled, what this game meant to the Cats players in a way that I don't think any coach in my lifetime really has. So it's kind of a bummer that we don't have that. And I think maybe Vigen goes into that, but he just seems like an even keel guy. So I don't see him being the villain in any storyline.
We're lucky we have the captain.
It's too nice.
Yeah, he is. Luckily, we have the captains that are going to be. You have Troy, you have Rovig, you have all these guys.
It's Troy's senior year.
First year, like the intensity is not going to be lost on the team. I don't think in terms of like what the captains are bringing. So that's obvious too. You can't just go. There's no way you can't be intense going into this game. But I think it's just going to be, it's interesting to have another guy back on the sideline that's not going to be as fiery as Choate.
And I also
the Ash era scarred us.
I also believe that probably the first person that Vigen talked to when he got to the office Sunday morning was Waded. I'm sure she was waiting for him, and she probably said something like, this has all been great, but we don't lose to Montana in anything. So I'm sure that she's got him. I'm not concerned about you guys not knowing what this game means or anything like that.
The thing about Troy Anderson too is he did not play in 2019. He's waited 3 years for this game. He's gonna come out this hair on fire, I'm gonna imagine.
Is he gonna run the ball?
Nope. I don't see any reason.
I did see in your scouting report that you I did read it.
Like I hope you passed it on to Bobby Houck and he prepares for Troy again.
If Afonso is out,
I bet we see Troy Anderson get the ball.
I think you just see a whole hell of a lot of Tommy Millott.
If it's 4th and 1 on the Montana 2 and Cats are down 4,
oh my God,
and Afonso is out, who do you want running that ball?
Troy Anderson.
I mean, yes, you do. I just don't think they're going to.
Nothing made me happier than see Troy at the goal line.
I wouldn't be sad to see it. He intercepted. He took a pick six back earlier in the year, and I was like, that looks really good to watch that again.
Yeah, it was fun to see him kind of gallop into the end zone. He has that stride that when he's in the house.
Yeah, just like one leg jumped over a guy, made it look like he's hurdling a hurdle, and Lane look easy. I'm like,
it was good memory. It was good memory for sure.
All right,
I can't hate that kid. I mean, I don't like hate any players. You know what I'm saying? But it's like Montana kid that's I think going to be in the league next year. It's hard to hate him. So
we're on the record as saying he's the GFP's favorite Cap player. Although Afonso's kind of making a run. Brint and I were on the Afonso's the MVP of the conference before anybody else even mentioned it.
It was cool.
And Kyler in Eastern Washington can't even handle the thought. So
actually, there was like one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger handshake moments where I think but no one was helping me out. But where I was arguing with Afonso is the MVP, and I had Eastern fans after the Cats beat Eastern telling me that was the dumbest thing they've ever heard. And just pointing out, who played better on the field that day between Barrier.
Alphonse rushed for more yards than Barrier passed for in that game.
And a lot of my argument in that is Eric Barrier is a very special quarterback, a very special talent in the Big Sky Conference. And so, and as is Isaiah Alphonse, but if you took the guy out of the team and put in, whoever the backup is, who's going to be more successful? And I think Eastern Washington, like we know, like you're surrounded with amazing weapons still. And then we see them do this all the time. They just like snap in another quarterback and the guy throws for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns a game. But I think the Cat offense without Isaiah Alphonse is now Malat's really come on late, but I think you look at the stretch of the season in terms of individual value to a team that cannot be replaced. I don't see anybody else. But that's me.
Got a question about Troy Anderson. Is Troy Anderson the most famous person in Montana? Is he the most famous
as
Montana?
Opposed to like how? Like compared to what?
Is he the most is he the most notable person in Montana right now?
How much has the governor spent on ads in the last 12 years of running for office?
I think the people who pay attention to football definitely know who he is. I mean, especially Cat fans. I think he's,
like non-politics, right?
Cult-like status.
Okay, yeah.
I think that most Griz fans even wouldn't know who he was walking down the street. Now, if he was wearing a sign that said, I'm Anderson, I play for the Cats, like maybe some more people would. But
he's on a commercial now.
God,
IMDb.
Yeah, see, Thorny. The first time I saw that commercial, I think it was the Eastern game, and immediately I was like, I know who that guy is. Damn it! Like I recognize a Cat player without a jersey on. This is terrible.
He's a one-shot rock and art commercial.
I have a question. I've been wondering this. Can you guys recap what's happened to your offensive line? I'm pretty curious. I don't know what's going on there. I know tons of injuries. Some guys have retired for mental health reasons. What's going on?
Yeah. So, the Griz line has been kind of a patchwork thing, and a couple transfers that came in, and they wound up Colton Kientz, who walked on to help Bob Stitt when Bob Stitt wasn't giving scholarships to any O-line players. I think left the team under Stitt and came back when Bobby came in, like between the time of Stitt's non-renewal and Bobby's hiring. Colton called it quits, and Bobby and Chad Germer, the O-line coach, called him back. I'm guessing this timeline, and said, "Hey, we need you," because we had nobody. We had at that point, I think we had 1 or 2 O-line kids total on scholarship. And so he kind of just backs up but worked his way through, kind of put the effort in. And for the Washington game and the Northern or Western Illinois game started, and I believe shortly thereafter that announced retirement from football, basically due to mental health issues, concerns, things like that. So credit to the kid to recognizing that and not letting it completely, just eat him alive.
Yeah, and just so people know on that, just to put a bow on that, he actually is now interning with the UM athletic department. He's got a great relationship with the school, and their school's really supportive of him. I mean, it's kind of a bummer. I know his mom, and he's a great kid.
They're a great family.
He couldn't do football anymore, and more power to him for recognizing it, frankly.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the reception he got from the fan base, from the team, from everybody, from college football, was to applaud him for recognizing the potential damage that he could be causing himself and to walk away. That then jumbled the O-line up quite a bit. And so you lose one guy, and it seemed kind of funny, but then our center, AJ Forbes, has been hurt, back, hurt again, hurt, back again. I don't think he's listed as a starter for the Cat game. So not sure his status. And then our right tackle, Dylan Cook, who was a quarterback, but has developed into a pretty good right tackle that was getting just a little bit of kind of those draft diamond, little kind of FCS buzz things as the season got going, has been hurt and I think came back a little bit for NAU. So basically you go center, right guard, right tackle, and we haven't had a consistent group there. Mike, what do you think? Have we since September? I mean, and so there was another player from the Griz that hung it up, Tyler Ganow, but he was a third string guard, played in and out a little bit in 2019, but was not part of the 2 deep at the time. So, I mean, you guys know this, like the Cato line, save until now, right, has been pretty solid, the same steady group of guys, and just the amount of experience and playing time you get, where you've got everybody on the field together most all the time. And we've got a different group almost weekly, and then during the game as well too. So, it's tough to say. I don't know, right. It's the same thing on your side of the ball. It will Cook start at right tackle, or will it be Brandon Casey, who's a redshirt freshman? He played against the last 2 games quite a bit. Then our interior right guard could be a mix of different guys, because Moses Mallory moves over to center if we don't have AJ Forbes. So it's just kind of a big thing that jumbles back and forth, and we've been doing it for a couple months now. So it's you add in the mix of inexperienced running backs and O-line where 3/5 of your guys, you don't know what your grouping's looking like on a week-to-week basis. It makes it tough. It makes it really tough.
How are you feeling about the Cats' defensive line then?
Oh, well, your defensive line is great. And it's as I was pointing out when I did my scouting report, I was like talking about the ends with all their stats, but your interior line is incredible as well too.
Chase Benson does everything there.
Oh yeah, he does. So, I mean, this is like one of the things I don't know if the Griz can do this, because they haven't consistently shown that they've been able to, but this O-line has had a problem. If it's a 3 or a 4-man rush, they can't even pick that up consistently. I mean, a 3-man rush, we had issues when we lost to Sac State. And near the end of the game, Sac was just doing a 3-man rush, and we're pressuring our quarterbacks with pretty good efficiency. So it's a massive challenge. And it's one of the things where, I mean, that Cat D line versus the Griz O line, they have a tremendous advantage in that. And that's going to be, it's one of these things where it's like, I don't personally know if they've got the solution to it. And if, we're all healthy and Forbes is at center and Cook's at right tackle, and then Mallory's at right guard, it's going to give us our best shot. But that grouping still has shown that they have breakdowns and issues and inefficiencies that's led to a lot of killed drives and quarterback sacks and things like that. So yeah, you guys talk about you get nervous about the pick 6 or something like that. I think that's one of the biggest things I worry about when I look at this. Like I think Parlay was saying, can the Griz go 80 yards? I mean, and can that O-line keep our quarterbacks clean for 3 to 4 seconds consistently, and open up lanes for the running backs? I mean, all signs kind of point to no. So I just don't know how they're going to do that. That's going to be the biggest thing that they're going to have to figure out.
So if we're going to break down units and give advantages, line versus line, special teams versus special teams, you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that. I think maybe before we do that real quick, though, I mean, I feel we're 4-2 Cats versus Griz in this here. I feel like we've probably talked a ton about kind of Cats strengths and stuff like that. So I think we probably should talk a little bit more about kind of who the Griz are as a team. So I'm curious, and I'm going to make Thorny answer this question. Thorny, I need you to tell me 2 good things about this Griz team, because I know this stuff is hard for you.
Man, I like how aggressive the defense is. I think it's fun to watch. They blitz like crazy. They play hard. They get after it. They run full speed. It's very fun to watch. Like, I've never seen a defense be that entertaining. In fact, they're more entertaining than the offense. That's a rarity. It's not just boring good defense. It's they're just legitimately fun to watch. That's number one thing. Second thing is, it's a tougher one. Specialty. Malik Flowers. He's really good.
I like how you're like the guy trying to get out of the room as quickly as possible. Malik Flowers. Okay, bye.
He does stuff that's fun to watch and whatnot. No, he's really good, man. He's really, really fun to watch. He's got a smooth stride. It's really fun to see him, go the distance 100 yards from the end zone. I love a good return game. It's always fun to watch. It's always such a momentum builder. Such a huge thing to happen in a game. And the Cats haven't had one in a long time.
Yeah. The aggressiveness on defense is interesting because it's fun, but if we can't get home to the QB, then we struggle. But I mean, that's just the risk of the offense. But I mean, the Griz play a really interesting 3-3-5, and it's built to bring pressure from all angles because it's really not built for the line to bring the pressure on their own. The three up front are really just supposed to eat up, space and blocking to try and open it up for the linebackers and the safeties to come in and do work. So most of the time it's fun to watch.
Save that Sac State game in the fourth quarter of Eastern. Outside of that, great stuff.
I think Coach Vegan talked about having seen it when he was playing in San Diego.
San Diego State.
Yeah, San Diego State. There you go.
Yep. SDSU. Yep, that's where we brought it in from.
Because Houck was the associate head coach there after UNLV, and probably would have gotten that job over Hoke if he had stayed on staff. But instead, he came back to Montana. So here we are.
Bobby Houck ever going to leave Montana?
Probably. I don't know why he would. He had to lobby some people to get it back, and
he shot his shot, man. Like, he's got a good thing going. Why leave?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he was to, lead him to a national championship, and then there was an opportunity to go be like a special teams coach in the NFL, or even like an associate special teams coach in the NFL, or something like that, maybe. But I would be surprised.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of saw what that next level looks like and recognized that that's especially on the western side of the US, like your options with your recruiting pools are pretty limited, and there's a lot of turds out there, and he definitely landed one at UNLV. And we've seen this with coaches that have left both of our programs and other programs in the Big Sky. It's tough. It's tough to go from FCS to FBS on this side of the country and be successful.
Yeah, that's true. And I think we should have known the second he went to UNLV that it was going to end poorly. I mean, he got him to a bowl game, but yeah, I think he's pretty happy to be back in Montana. It's got a place on Flathead Lake, and Montana's home. So, we get him for better or worse.
Foley's nightmare is that once Houck retires, then Robbie Houck takes over, and then his kid takes over, and there's just nothing but Houcks at Montana for the rest of his life.
That's true. That's so true.
Well, I would be shocked if Robbie Houck does anything but coach football after he graduates. I mean, yeah.
Get him on staff, and he could have make a run for the McCaffreys.
Oh boy!
In nepotism.
Get your tight pants out.
Yeah, tight pants.
Oh boy!
All right. Well,
all right. So, Parlay, you were talking about going by position, right?
Yeah, unit versus unit, line versus line, special teams versus special teams. I don't know. I think some of them are going to be hard to pick because, like special teams, for instance, I like our kicking game, but your return game's obviously much better. So which one do you say is better overall? Griz, because of the return game, or?
I mean, yeah, I think like we talked about, I think like if you go kicker to kicker, Cats kicker, better. Field goal kicker. Yeah. I mean, coverage units are kind of similar. Punt return, we've not been able to do a whole lot since Sulcer was out. We did have a couple. We had both a Houck and a Graves punt return get wiped out by a penalty, or one of them get wiped out by some guy running into him. Well, that was so the guy that Aaron Fonts, who's muffed a few punts, is a true freshman, and NAU is his fourth game. So that kid's not going to be on the field. I can't imagine. So it's probably going to be Garrett Graves or Robbie Houck that's going to be the primary punt returners. And then, of course, like our kick return game, if you kick to him, Flowers is the more dangerous. So like maybe I would say a slightly into Montana, but it's not like a big, if we still had Sulcer fielding punts, I'd say a heavier lean to Montana, but like very slight.
Something crazy is going to happen on a punt. I just feel it.
Yeah.
I just feel it. Because I think there's going to be a lot of punts. So it's just, college kids in a game that brings on so much nerves and emotion. It's just inevitable.
Well, we got a great punter. I mean, if there was ever a year for us to have a great punter, we've got one.
Our punter's buried some deep too in big moments. There's been times I'm usually naturally aggressive where if it's near midfield and it's less than 5 to go on fourth, I want to go for it. I want to control the ball, run the clock out, give ourselves a better chance to score. But then we go and punt it and nail, Eastern inside the 5. I'm thinking back to that drive where I don't know what the hell Eastern was doing with their offense that drive. I'm trying to remember the play sequence, but it was just the weirdest thing. And then they punted it and gave us the ball and we just ran the clock out. It was just, I had no idea what the hell was going on. It was so weird.
I don't know what Best was thinking he'd get the ball back. I mean,
no.
And it had just happened to him in the Weber game where Weber on like 3rd and 12, was just conceding to punt and they ran it for a first down. I don't know what he was thinking, but then he figured he'd go fire a coach. So whatever.
Whatever happened with that?
I don't think we've got the story.
Yeah. Who knows?
Come on, Kyler.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for it. That's why I was saying if that happened in either of our schools, I feel like we would know by now.
Message boards would be full.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, I don't think we need to go like position by position.
Well, I think we can agree on a few things, right? Like running back, Montana State.
Yeah, running game.
O-line, sure. Montana State. D-line, Montana State. Cornerback, Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, those positions, I don't think it's even up for debate, in my opinion, unless someone wants to throw an opinion out there. So that kind of looks like
quarterbacks is the one who's going to come out and make the throws, who's going to step up. Sammy McCutcheon has outplayed him. No one would have guessed that at the beginning of the year.
No. I mean, I don't think anyone was talking about McCutcheon at the beginning of the year.
No, I don't think any Cat fans thought that would happen with him.
I was thought
Jaden Smith would be the breakout player for the Cats wide receiver core, and he's really done almost next to nothing. So,
yeah.
I have a question. So we'll get off the positions because I do have a question here. So if you think about, we're not going to get into the lines and the betting of things, but what would you put on the game for the other side? So say I'm a Cats fan, I'm going to bet on the Griz to win. How much money would you put on the other team to win so that if you lose, you would feel okay financially because you won some money as a consolation prize? What is your limit of what you would put on? So Foley, Thorny, Parlay, what do you put on the Griz to feel okay if we lost this game?
In Cat Griz games, I don't really do it.
I do it, but this is hypothetical.
I know. I love doing it with Ash in the playoffs because it was and a lot of times I got the best of both worlds where we'd win but not cover. So I'd make money and we'd still advance.
Yeah, so I want to know what you would put on this damn game to feel okay afterwards. It would be $200 on the Griz to win $250. If the Cats win, you lose $250. But if the Griz win, at least you got away with some money.
I think 1,000 on plus 3.5 and hope that we win by 3.
So best of both worlds. Okay. Is there any money, Thorny or Foley, that you would be okay with the Griz winning?
No. It's invaluable. It's worthless.
It is. I mean, I tend to agree.
I mean,
also, I don't fully understand the question. So
yeah, I can't imagine that there would be an amount of money where it's I just had to sit through that fucking game in Bozeman again. Excuse me. But you get $1,000 for it?
Yeah, just walking out of if it's Saturday and I'm walking out of the stadium, but I'm like, hey, I'm up $50 or I'm up $200.
Yeah, try saying that out loud, Brent. At your tailgate. I made $50. Better be more than 50.
Hey, 5 in a row.
My question was more a group think because I was thinking about it. I was just trying to find a way to get best of both worlds. But I don't think
it exists in this game.
Yeah, you're right. I think Barney has it. It's invaluable to get that Cat Griz win. There's not a
and there's so much on the line. I mean, for the Bob to get that second seed is everything, because now that we made the semifinal, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but now that we made the semifinal, that's not good enough for me. Like, it's great. But I don't want to. The Cats.
Just want to clarify. Like, we as in the Cats made the semis.
We as in the Cat fans.
No, we can get the Griz in semis too. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, you didn't make it last time. But
that's what I mean.
So
stop. There are how many teams in the FCS?
A lot.
This drives me nuts. And the Griz were in the final 8, and people talk about it like the Griz season was some terrible failure.
No, you guys.
When the other school's in the final 4, it tends to take a back seat.
It's just there is such a massive difference between playing that semifinal game at home versus playing at North Dakota State or at James Madison or at Sam Houston. Even, like, you can't compare it. I want to be there. I want to be there for the semifinal game. So yeah, there's no amount of money I can make off the Griz winning Saturday that would make up for being able to be in Bozeman for the semifinal game. Not even close.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. In all the national championships games the Griz have appeared in, both the ones they've won and the ones they lost, they only won on the road in the semifinals once. They went and upset James Madison on the road. So, I mean, getting that home game, getting the top 2 seeds, it's huge.
Yeah, especially with our stadium.
That's why I go nuts when somehow teams in the Big Sky seem to fall down the rankings when teams in the Valley don't. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
Well, at least the Valley getting 5 teams in a few years ago made the rule change where we're not all going to be on the same side of the bracket if there's 5 Big Sky teams in or 4 or whatever.
That's brutal.
So that's good. At least we're not on the same side.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go back to position by position now. I just wanted to
scrap position by position. I think we're good. I think we've talked about who we want to talk about in the positions. Maybe let's just do this. How are you feeling going into this game? Like, what do you think is going to happen? How are you feeling about it?
Who wants to tackle that one?
Ooh. I mean, I can start. I was, after that Eastern win, I was riding high. I was like, okay, I mean, it was huge. And then, I mean, human nature, it starts creeping in your brain when that Idaho. I mean, I know I talked and said, our defense played well. They only had 13 points, 1 touchdown. But it does. The doubts start creeping in when you see what they couldn't do against Idaho. They couldn't move the ball really against Idaho. Malott came in and was electric and was the catalyst that made everything work in that game. Can you bottle that up again? Does it happen again if they need him to do this against the Griz and the Griz know he's running the ball? It's a better defense than Idaho. So, I mean, there's the nerves that come with any Cat Griz, and then there's the Idaho game in the back of your mind. Last year we had 19, we had a huge win against Davis going into that Cat Griz game in Davis, which was pretty big for Choate at the time to knock them off going into Cat Griz. And I think we were feeling pretty more optimistic in that one. And then this Idaho one was a little bit of a letdown. So, I honestly do think the Cats are the better team. I'm picking them to win, but that Idaho game definitely knocked me down a couple notches in confidence. Just kind of that human nature of we should have throttled that team and we did.
Yeah. And I alluded to it too, where that Idaho game and our passing game makes me nervous. But overall, I think we have the better team. And I like our chances to win comfortably, as comfortably as this team can win, which is usually just holding like a 6 or 7 point lead, like against Eastern or Weber. And for me, it's the reality check of, yes, the Griz are trending up. They've looked like world beaters the last 2 weeks against Northern Colorado and Northern Arizona. And we've played at Weber, at Eastern. And yes, we laid a dump on our home field against Idaho, but look at the history against Idaho. They're always close. Idaho has good talent on the line. They have a horrible coach. So if their coach can get up for one game, and yeah, you guys shut down their running QB, but he wasn't their QB the whole game that game either. It's a different situation when he's playing the whole game. And yeah, maybe I'm trying to talk circles around this shitty game against Idaho, but they do have some studs on defense. And it does make me think, if it's windy at all at Griz, get McKay out of there, because he just doesn't have the arm strength in the wind, or, they're going to have to be very strategic about the passing game, because that's my biggest worry. And we've talked about it enough. So
40 and cloudy in Missoula. No major precipitation or wind. So I was going to say, if it's windy in Missoula and the Griz can't pass the ball, fuck, I don't know.
I guess, you guys are in just as much trouble as
we're going to look just like Weber State did against you guys. So
Foley, Thorny, where are you guys at?
I'll take this one. I think back to in 2019, coming into the Cat Griz, you guys beat Weber State and just took them to the woodshed. Mm-hmm. And I had no clue that Montana State was going to take the Grizzlies to the woodshed the next week. I would have never predicted that. I've been going back and forth on this all week long. I have no clue what's going to happen. I think about our defense and your offense. I'm like, okay, the Cats definitely have that. If we can get to the quarterback and be disruptive, I think that bodes well for us. But I haven't seen the Cats pull a steady offensive game in a while. I was thinking about trick plays too. I think the Griz would be more apt to pull a trick play. I don't think Montana State has had a kind of a gadget play. And I think this is a game where you could win on a gadget play. This could come down to one or two plays late in the game. And I don't know. Vegan is just so vanilla. I haven't seen anything like that from him. I would be surprised if Montana State holds a big lead in this game. That would be the most shocking thing to me, honestly. I think the defense is going to hold court, but I don't think our offense is going to be able to replicate what we did in 2019, because I don't know how we did it in 2019. You guys looked so good against Weber State, and then it was just like you couldn't stop us. And I was like, it just didn't make any sense. I still don't know why that happened. So I think Thorny talked about it in the R&R. We don't have the offensive line we did in 2019. We just don't have the graders that we had. So I don't know. Like, I just keep going back and forth. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. It's Cat Griz, man. Like, this really anything could happen. I don't make predictions on this, so I'm not going to. But so it's just really up in the air for me.
And that Griz game in 19, it took me by surprise, and then it made me confident for the North Dakota State game. It gave me hope that we actually had the horses to keep up with North Dakota State. So, goddamn Griz, they screwed us and we won. Make me too hopeful.
that happened to us when we beat North Dakota State. What was that, 2015? And then we beat the Cats. And we go to North Dakota State. They beat the shit out of us. So yeah.
It's like everyone else says, it's been an up and down year, and the Idaho game definitely has doubts creeping in your mind. But my doubts for this game are different than they have been in historical Cat Griz games. It's where those are typically like we could be trending on an all-time high, and I'm nervous because we just lose to the Griz, and that's what we've done so often. I'm nervous for this game, not because it's the Cat Griz game. It's like the Cats have such a mental edge in this game at the moment. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about our offense. I'm worried about the Griz defense stopping it. I'm not worried about the Cats losing just because of some sort of mental block or some sort of struggle that the Cats have always had, like not having the winning culture in the Cat Griz game, because I think that's in place. And I think that it's going to come down to the senior leadership. And one thing that's giving me a lot of hope is how much of the staff that Vegan has retained from Choate's side that are familiar with scheming it up to beat the Griz. So I'm feeling okay still. Didn't love the Idaho game. Certainly didn't love Afonso getting hurt. But I think overall I'm still feeling fairly optimistic about this game. But I, like Foley said, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know how the Griz are going to score on our defense, and I'm not sure exactly how we're going to score on the Griz defense either. So
it's going to be a fun one.
If you like defense, it could be a fast game. It could be a real fast Cat Griz game.
We'll be done by 2:30. From Griz fan side and perspective, it's kind of funny because I think in the last decade we can pull out, we can absolutely grab two games where it's like last year or 2 years ago, Griz were third in the country, and Cats were playing for their playoff life. Well, I'd say that was like
they would have been in, but they would definitely.
Yeah, we were top 10. Okay, so But it was like, yeah, Griz came off a big win. They're playing great, and they laid an egg. Cats just beat the shit out of them. Like, you can't argue about it anyway. You go back 10 years ago, 2011. Cats are number one in the country, and here comes a banged up Griz team that was kind of slogging through some ugly wins, and they put it to the Cats on their home field. So it's kind of fascinating. And we've had more Cat victories than Griz victories in the last decade for sure. So I don't know. I have a weird feel from my perspective that there's going to be enough to get that's going to get the Griz over the hill. And I feel like you guys have talked about this too. The one thing I just wonder about is Jeff Choate is the Griz slayer. And like, he lives, breathes, eats, drinks, anything, everything that is beat the Griz. And he's gone. And yeah, his assistants are there. And yeah, Troy Anderson, all these other guys are there that have had this instilled in them. And probably could be enough. But I just feel like you don't have your guy at the top. And so I just have this weird thought. The vegan feels like an Ash 2.0 in some regards to me.
Don't say that. Please God, don't say that.
And it's like, if it's like crunch time, and he hasn't shown that this year, but so maybe I'm putting some false hope into it, but I just have this like odd calm sense currently that it's going to be a super tight game. It's going to be a low scoring game, and one error is going to be the deciding factor, one team or the other. Like Parlay was saying, a long run, an 80-yard bomb touchdown, a pick six, a kickoff return for a touchdown. And like, that's the difference in the game. And so I feel like you look at a few of these things, I feel with those like crazy freak big plays, the Griz maybe have some things that tip their way that way. And that could be the day. And so I don't know. Up until these last 2 weeks, especially coming off that Southern Utah game, I just thought we were going to get our ass kicked. And then, the injuries are something to pay attention to. Griz has been playing through injuries all year. Cats suddenly have a lot of adversity. And it's just going to be interesting to see how they do with it. I'm expecting Fonse to play. I'm expecting him to get 30 plus touches. And I'm expecting him to have over 100 yards against this defense, even though it's statistically the best rush defense in the conference. He's a dude. You just can't completely stop him. But I don't know. I got just kind of a weird feeling Griz are going to have just enough in them. Yeah. That's what I think.
I mean, I've become a little bit more comfortable with the game as the week's gone on. I mean, if the Cats win, I'm not going to be surprised. I do think the Griz are being underestimated a little bit, which is fine, because I think the Cats have earned it going undefeated in conference. Like, they've earned the opportunity to be where they're at and be playing for the top two seeds, in my opinion. I think it's interesting that they almost are in reverse position of 2019 from what they're playing for and where they're at in the rankings and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the 2019 game, I mean, Brint kind of said it. I think if Teray hadn't gotten that, massive hit and fumbled, I think the game might turn out differently. I don't know that the Griz win, but I think that they were ahead of schedule from, how rebuilding, and the depth's not even there this year. So it definitely wasn't there, in 2019 and how second year, and it just snowballed. Confidence is a serious thing. And I think it's more so with these football players today than it was, the last time Houck was here. And so I think that stuff just kind of snowballed. I think that, this team going through some adversity, winning a playoff game in 2019, going on the road and being damn close to Weber, even though poor Dalton Snead ended his career throwing, 13 interceptions or whatever it was.
It was 14.
I think in one game.
It was 14.
In one game.
Yeah.
I think they'll be more prepared. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they react and handle it. I'm excited. I mean, you're always excited for this game, but this particular one feels just different. It feels like one that's just
feels real unknown, right?
Yeah, it's like you're going into it, and it's like, well, yeah. I mean, the Cats are playing for a top 2 seed. The Griz are playing probably to earn a seed in the playoffs. And it's like, where's this going to go? And I think we all say that's what we want the Cat Griz game to be. So
I think it's just it is unknown, and it's even if it doesn't matter what these records are going into this game. You don't want to get too high because of how brutal that letdown is when you lose this game, regardless of if the Cats came in 0 and whatever, the Griz came in this game 0 and whatever. You could have all the confidence in the world that you have the better team and all the confidence in the world that this game is going to go your way. And to lose this game is just so brutal for the whole year. I mean, it's something that you can't really put into words how depressing it is when you lose this game. You can't get too high. And so, I mean, if this game was right after Eastern, I'd probably be really high right now in terms of going into this game. I would be probably the most confident I've ever been going into a Cat Griz game. In my lifetime, probably. But as the week goes on, you start remembering how depressing it is when you lose and how big of a gut punch that is when you lose. And we haven't had to do it in 5 years now. 4 games, 5 years. And it's just hard to really get confident for this game because you have to guard yourself from the absolute mental toll it takes on you when you lose this game.
Have you guys had to do the podcast after a loss yet, or did you?
We haven't yet. No, there's something we have in common.
Yeah. I haven't lived here in Chicago since.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so it's been
a while.
Let me tell you guys, it's actually the podcast after the games have been when we start to recover, frankly.
Cathartic.
It's like therapy.
You start talking about it and what went wrong. And at least we still have the playoffs the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's such a scary game in terms of just emotions.
Well, and being favored is different too. It's just when you're the underdog.
Yeah. You guys haven't been favored since 2012, I don't think.
Wow. No. I didn't even look that up or think about that. That's crazy.
That was an away game too.
I assume you were favored in 2012 because that was like
we were by 7.5.
Yeah, that was like
We've got a beautiful gambling mind, Parlay.
I think that's the last Cat Griz game I was at, 2012.
Really?
Was that was no?
It was really cold.
No, you might have been thinking of 2010. That was Griz in black and orange.
It wasn't snowing, but it was
10 was the insane one. Yeah,
10 was the black and orange.
12 was pretty chilly.
Denarius, right?
12 was very cold. It just wasn't snowing yet. 10 was the
windy, real windy too. Heavy breeze. Yeah,
I was at 2012. That's where I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were you rooting for at that point?
Oh yeah. Oh really?
Yeah. Why not? Why not? What would that be?
I'm just asking the question, Stormy. I'm just asking a question.
I mean, if you want to get into that, yes, I grew up a Griz fan.
No, I didn't know that actually.
I've been done.
How did I miss that?
We had Andrew Schmidt on our pod last night, and he grew up his dad coached for the Cats, and so we were kind of asking him, it's like, what was that like? And he was actually on his unofficial visit at a Cat Griz game with the Cats, and he told an interesting story because when the coach got arrested for buying drugs on the way to a recruiting trip or selling drugs or whatever it was, allegedly. He was on the way to see Andrew Schmidt play Ryan Bagley.
On his way to do what with Andrew Schmidt? That's the question.
You're just asking the question here. You're just asking the question.
Are you going to vacate another 2 Cat Griz games from that?
I was there. They happened. That's such a... Especially with all this national name engine. That's
Wikipedia says it was vacated by U of M.
I have no recollection of that game.
Cookies and hot dogs. I was there. I can recap the whole game for you.
I was there too.
I mean, you were there, but it's nothing.
You guys, anything
an exhibition of sorts.
Yeah, anything anybody wants to wrap up on. This has been fun. We should make this a Brawl Week kind of tradition because I actually think that this has been enjoyable.
Can I add something super stupid and cheesy now?
Go for it.
Maybe.
This rivalry to me has got. Well, the fascinating thing for me, I don't know about you guys with this rivalry, is like, this is so cheesy, but it's like getting to know like other guys from like Montana, like MSU Cat fans, and like you guys through the podcast network. Like, it's actually taken some of the bite of this rivalry off me. Like, I don't want the Griz to lose, but it's like growing up, and especially when I was an undergrad at the University of Montana in the 90s and early 2000s, it was just like, I hate Bozeman and I hate Cat fans and blah, blah, blah. And I hate everybody from that side of the state. It's like, you guys are like pretty good dudes. 51 weeks out of the year. Nate, maybe like 48 weeks out of the year for you. So it's just like,
stopping you.
I have thoroughly enjoyed being part of this podcast network. Mike is like, yeah, shut the hell up.
There's actually a tear in Brent's eyes.
I sound like Bobby Houck leading into the 2019 game where I'm like, we take this rivalry too seriously. No, I still take it very seriously, but it's been fun getting to know you guys and like have these conversations. This is a great time.
What I would say,
fuck you, Mike.
I've enjoyed. Left, I would cheers, but I drank all my beer.
Yeah, I drank.
I've enjoyed being part of the podcast network because it's made me, and this isn't true just for the Cats, but I pay more attention to the teams because I know you guys are paying attention, so it's like, it's kind of like, we learn more about it. But that being said, I mean, knowing who Nate is has made me want to beat the Cats more.
It's a weird effect I have on people when it comes to these kind of things where the hatred grows to a bigger level. It's a personality trait I can't get rid of, but it's one I have to.
Hey, we got your business photo now, dude. So.
You look at that. That was free shaving the head too.
If only we could bring Scotty Mint into the pod network.
But no, it's fun. I definitely think about more what I'm going to put on Twitter and what I'm going to tweet because I know I'm just going to get a text from Mike, call me an idiot. Now that Brint knows me, I have too many Griz fans now that'll call my bullshit tweets out. So it has given me pause to think before I tweet, which is something that
Nate, I will end this with a compliment to you because I think of everybody in the whole network, you've gone the farthest from being just the Homer fan to being like the educated person of the conference. Like I think you are so much more reasonable than you used to be.
I'm like a walking juxtaposition. I've raised your hatred for the Cats more, yet you're still complimenting me. It's a very weird place to be in personally. I want to get complimented and just degraded at the same time, but I'll take both of them.
Welcome to the rivalry.
So fast story. Before I do feel like, Mike, there was a realtor conference we were driving back from before the inception of the GFP where I do believe you asked me to drive your car so you could we could listen to Montana Mint Sports and you could tag Hot Take Nate with all his bad opinions. We gotta drive my car
because I discovered the Montana Mint podcast because Luke was a guest on it. Yeah, and then I was like, well, who the hell are these guys? And Bear Tycoon, who I really love too, was like, oh man, you are not a dedicated enough Griz fan to be the voice of this. And so I told Luke I was going to do it the first day, and I would just live tweet the whole damn pod.
The guy.
And the two of you must have thought like, oh my God, who is this guy? But I was
like, hey, we have a listener. That's what I was thinking.
Was that the shortest story in GrizFanPod history?
Yes. I love
there after the love fest.
I love it. I love fully that you put in our comment box that you don't think you've ever been confident going into Cat Griz because that's how I feel. Like the times you're confident are the times you're like set up for failure.
Yeah, I was confident in 19.
Oh, that's what I'm scared of. I honestly am scared of being confident and then getting our asses handed to us like that. Like that would be crushing.
Yeah, it wasn't fun.
I don't see our defense allowing that to happen. I mean, I could. The turnovers and special teams can make anything crazy happen, but I don't see us giving up that many points on defense.
I don't think we saw it last year either, though.
Kind of a parting thought for me is, I think in the rivalry, there needs to be balance. Like Montana State's been on the upper hand for 4 years in a row, hopefully 5 years in a row, but the streak, that can't happen again. I think now too that Montana State has upped its game in equal footing as far as football goes with the Grizzlies. That going back and forth right now, it's not detrimental to either program. It's not going to, like it did like when we went to school in 2005, like sway kids like, hey, now we're going to Montana State because Travis Lulay won us a game. And now like you saw attendance just skyrocket after that, right? I don't think that's I don't know if that's going to happen as much anymore. So, if the Grizzlies win, like for once in my life, I feel like, okay, all right, whatever, good for them.
Don't start pitying them.
Yeah, whatever. But, we'll get back. We'll get it back. But I hate the streakiness, I mean, obviously if we're going to be on the streak, you want to be on the right side of the streak, but I don't know. So
let's get 5.
Joe Glenn said something similar. when the Cats beat the Griz and ended the streak the year after they just won the national championship. He said, well, 16 in a row, it's actually not good for the rivalry. I've never forgiven Joe Glenn for that. So
that many is not too good. It's not good.
No. Those are brutal years.
Yeah.
But look what's happened since. So I'm just saying, like, Foley, I mean, knock on wood and throw some salt. Because, when most of us were going to school, these roles were reversed in a whole lot of ways.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Shit changes.
Yeah, it's 9-9 if you're counting 11 since the streak was ended.
I'm not.
We're not. Yeah. Nobody is.
If actually you're not allowed to, but
so it's 9-8, but it's 9-8 Cats. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's much healthier though. It's a lot more fun.
It's great when we're both great. I mean, are we going to have another pod if pre-playoff game? Cat Griz playoff game?
This was hard enough to schedule.
Dial it back.
Oh my God.
Can we do it at midnight or something?
Yeah,
You want to
do it
talk
at
about
1.
stress?
I will stay up till 3 a.m. talking about a
Me too.
If the Cats and the Griz ended up in the playoffs,
I don't want to talk. That'll make me throw up like right now.
Yeah.
I don't think I could handle
I'm not
it.
going to sleep anyway, so might as well.
Foley just passed out.
No.
Oh man.
So what's everybody's I know people don't make predictions, but you had to make one here. I want to hear the points and the prediction going into this game.
17-10 Griz.
2013 Cats.
Don't do that here.
All right.
That's
The
fair.
R&R guys don't do it.
They're afraid.
But that's okay because we're outnumbered 4-2.
I'm going 17-13 Cats, and it's going to be one that is going to be so anxiety-inducing in that fourth quarter that we're going to remember it, and I hope we're going to come out on the right side of it, but it's going to be one where we're going to Parlay and I are actually going to be together in Chicago watching this game. A little side note. So when that fourth quarter hits, it'll be interesting to see how many.
They won't be able to see the screen.
Yeah, we'll see how many beers go down the hatch in that fourth quarter when it's a 4-point game.
It's rough. I think the Griz are going to pull it out because, I host the GrizFan podcast, and I've been reminded of that.
This is how you were saying. This is how they prove it, right? You
Yes, exactly.
Until they prove it, but now they're going to prove it.
They need to. They can prove it to me by winning. So prove it. Awesome.
I heard
guys.
that excerpt.
Thorny, Foley, why don't you tell everybody who maybe isn't listening on your feed how they find you, and then we'll do it for Parlay and Nate and Brint and I as well.
I want Foley to do it because I do it every single episode. I want to see if he's memorized it.
I
He's
can't
shaking
do
his
it,
head.
man. There's no way.
We all follow
the
our
intros.
rules.
You got the intros.
We are the R&R Catcast because we're both named Ryan. Super clever name. RR Catcast on Twitter, rrcatcast.com, rrcatcast@gmail.com. I am.
An email too.
What is my handle? Celtic Moose 33.
See, that's what happens. People forget.
Yeah, you're
their
pulling
handle.
a Nate here.
I always get shit on for it, but it's very hard to remember your handle.
What's your handle?
Do anything? I don't know.
Foley, what's your handle?
I'm rarely on Twitter anymore, so I don't even put out anything. So yeah.
What's your MySpace, Foley?
MySpace, yeah.
When Foley drops into the Big Sky podcast chat, it's an honor because he definitely just tolerates our nonsense. He does not
how he gets
participate as
He just
often.
doesn't.
9 times out of 10, it's like, hey, catch me up. What the hell are you guys talking about?
Yeah, a lot of scrolling.
Yeah.
Or he'll come in and just say upset of the week, Southern Utah over Weber State.
Close. Very close.
Come on now.
Almost had it.
Super close.
Almost had it.
I was feeling confident on that one. I really was.
Well, you saw what they did against the Griz, so I could see where you'd get that confidence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair. Nate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a part of the Montana Mint Sports Network and the Montana Mint Sports Pod with Bear Tycoon. I am looking at my handle right now so I can remember it. It's at Mint's Hot Take Nate, but the Nate is an N and an 8, so that'll be really easy for everybody to remember out there. I'm sure
MySpace of you.
Very MySpace of me. But yeah, we do a weekly pod with Bear Tycoon. It's really fun, and it's the Montana Mint Sports Podcast.
Yeah. Montana Parlay. I am across all social media at Montana Parlay. And I make my picks on Twitter because the cowardly books don't post their lines until Saturday morning. So it took away my whole segment this year. But I'm going to try to figure something out for next fall. And because I miss it. I miss you guys, Nate and Bear Tycoon, who's going to sleep early tonight. So at Montana Parlay, I look forward to joining the pod next year in some sort of fashion and bringing back the Big Sky Big Takes. But as we all know, we're adults. Some of you guys even have families. I don't know what that's like. But it's tough to get these schedules together, man. But it's a lot of fun when we do.
I agree. I'm obviously Mike Nugent with the GrizFanPod. We're happy to be part of the Big Sky Podcast Network. We got our start with Montana Mint Guys and happy to be part of that. You can find us at GrizFanPod on Twitter. That's all we do. We don't have a Facebook page. We don't have anything else but that at GrizFanPod. I'm at Mike M. Nugent, although if you want to follow for just Grizz content, just follow the GrizFanPod.
Are we getting some Missoula City Council takes coming up pretty soon?
I was going to say, I got some other things going on in my life. So, there's all that. And I will say, cool thing about the pod that Nate's on and Parlay contributes to is that you have a cat and a Griz every week. So, I think that's a lot of fun. Brint, tell them how to find you because we all know you're a social media whore. So.
Oh, yes. So you can find me on Tinder no, I'm just kidding. You can find me on.
Speaking of families.
You can find him in divorce court.
My wife's asleep. She doesn't listen to this pod, so we're good. That's a terrible joke. No, at B Wahlberg. See, I go with something I can easily remember. Yeah. And, I don't know, at GrizFanPod, everything else. And just like Mike, I am mostly sports, but if you are not a Green Bay Packers fan, you probably don't want to follow me on most Sundays. But Parlay
comes in handy.
We've gotten your Bears plenty of times recently, so it's made for good fun. But yeah, I'm super entertaining if you want to watch a complete fan meltdown when my pro sports teams are playing. So at B Wahlberg, that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. All right, guys, this was a blast. We should do it again. And I'd encourage, everybody listening to, listen to some of the other pods if you want to learn something about the other teams and, enjoy what we're all doing out there in the Big Sky Podcast Network, because I think there's a lot of people having a lot of good content. Outside of that, let's just have a great game. You could say go whoever you want, and hopefully nobody gets hurt on Saturday.